paying every month.
That's a blooper.
That's a blooper. Keep that one, save it for your bloopers. I was like, what was that?
I thought someone ripped their pants. I was like,
that was fantastic.
oh no, now it doesn't.
Now we're gonna have lost our train of thought.
I'm sorry.
Welcome to episode 5 of the Energy Realty podcast. And so happy to have you here with us today, Brandye. Thank you for that. A quick introduction to people that know who don't know Brandye Foster, which I'm sure you probably do. She is the marketing director for Truly Title, my go-to title company that I close almost every file that I can with you guys because having done this for 23 years, I know that the title company I choose will make a difference in how that transaction is going to close. You guys are behind the scenes doing a lot of the work. Yeah. And so just let's talk about what is it that a title company does in the selling process when you're selling a house.
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. So, most consumers don't really know what title is or does. They think it's just the place that they're going to go to sign their documents. And really, what we do, the simplest way to explain it is we make sure, one, that the person selling the property has the legal right to do so, and two, that there are no liens or additional errors that are going to pop up at any point down the road to say, hey, we were supposed to have a right to this property, or hey, you owe us money. We go through and make sure that that's all clean and clear. And if for some reason either one of those things should pop up, that's when your insurance policy, title policy would kick in for that claim, and you would be protected and covered so that the homeowner is not out any money for, trying to get that person paid off or that lien paid off or whatever. So we're here to make sure that the property is free and clear from all of that when it transitions over to the new homeowner.
And then that information is presented in the title commitment.
Yes.
And so all parties receive that. And as realtors, we should know how to read a title commitment. I would say I'm not the expert. I want to make sure I didn't miss something. But I do have a funny story about title commitment. There's always a good one. By the way, she said heirs, not errors.
Right.
Heirs meaning someone else who might have inherited the property, where I think that they have a right to title on the property.
Correct.
So that's what the title commitment is doing. Before we even go to the closing table, you're making sure that that is a clean, and we're going to be able to convey clear title
Right.
to the new owner. So the owner doesn't have that challenged or questioned later. We'll go into title insurance in just a minute. So Tracy Baxter is your escrow officer.
Yes.
I've been closing with her for 23 years because she does an amazing job.
She does.
And I have followed her to 4 different title companies. Truly, I hope is the last one.
It is. We're here for good.
You guys are good. We're a good match because you're also orange. That's right. But we had something pop up on the title commitment that there was a lien from a past debt. And it was at I can't remember if I was on the buying side or the selling side. It's as long to be either way. It couldn't get cleared because it was like a third party debt collector, and they couldn't reach her. So at some point I said, Tracy, what's the address of the debt collector? She gave it to me. It was like 7:00 at night. I went and knocked on that guy's door. I handed him the paper and said, we are trying to get this cleared off the title. Can you please sign it so we can go to closing? And he did.
Yeah.
So today, even to this day, Tracy and I laugh about that because I was a young new agent. Yeah, I mean, I'm doing what it takes to get this to the closing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've got kind of a similar story. Back when I closed files, I had one and it popped up, and it's like it looks like a person's name, right? It's not even. And so I finally we become investigators in doing this, which I think kind of gets overlooked a little bit. Like, you think you're just going to go through the title commitment and it's just easy peasy. You're calling this number, and in most cases, that's how it is. But sometimes we have to get creative, and we really have to dig because companies shut down or they get bought out. And so anyway, this one particular one, I finally get to the actual person, and they're like, well, hold on. All the files are in my other bedroom. I got to go look. And I'm like, oh, man. This is gonna be interesting. And they finally came back and they're like, send me the release. Yeah, send me the release. I'll sign it and we can move on. So, I mean, those things do happen, but they have to be done in order to be able to convey the property to the next owner.
And then another big one is that divorce decree.
Yes.
Something that people don't think about.
So divorce decrees
Someone says that they got a divorce, you need verification that that divorce was final and who actually owns the property.
yeah, and just something out there, that we see more times than not, attorneys who in the divorce decree write up that one spouse over the other is going to get the property, but they never actually do the warranty deed to convey that property over. And that is the final piece. So it's great that the title or that the divorce decree says that yes, this person is conveying their portion of the property over to the other spouse, but we have to have that warranty deed. So what happens is we can certainly get that drawn up. The issue that can arise is if it wasn't amicable or if it was 20 years ago, you still have to get that other person to sign off. And so,
So word advice for anybody if you're going to
yes,
divorce, make sure that any property that's conveyed, yeah,
that you get that warranty deed and that it gets recorded. That's the key. Having it is one thing, it needs to be recorded. So, and the attorney should be doing that. So it's one more thing though in an already messy situation that you've just got to look out and really pay attention for yourself for protection because it can end up being a real hassle.
What I think is so unfortunate when we're talking to clear title on a property, and I saw this happen during Carby, there are a lot of unscrupulous contractors out there.
Yeah.
And it is way too easy for a contractor to file a lien against a property for a payment of a bill.
Yeah.
Now, how, I mean, if they go to the closing table and that lien pops up on that title commitment, and the seller says, I don't owe that money. This is not correct.
Yeah.
Do they just have to pay it?
So there are some avenues depending on the circumstances. So I can't say with a blanket term that they can just disappear because there's a lot of factors. There has to be a major due diligence going to find that contractor. Our attorneys are going to outline what they feel like because obviously, if we don't do our due diligence in trying to find that contractor and prove whether or not it was a you know correct lien or not, that claim could come back on us. And obviously, because we're an insurance company, we're in the business of clearing title that we don't think we're going to have claims on, right? But there are ways, yes, that those things can be removed, that we can do certain due diligence to find out if it was a scrupulous thing or if it was, really something that needs to be paid off. So there are circumstances where that can be taken care of, but I can't say across the board all of them are because you have to go through the due diligence of making sure and finding out because again we don't want a claim popping up down the road.
So, have you seen a situation where a property couldn't close because of a past lien with a contractor?
Well, not so much for the contractor, but I did have one. It was the whole divorce situation. And she couldn't find hers. They had been divorced for like 25 years. He was never removed off title.
Oh.
And she didn't even know where he was. And so then there becomes a period of with the underwriter that we were with at the time of going through and it basically you have to be able to declare abandonment. But it during my time it was not cleared up. And so she was literally stuck with the property and couldn't do anything with it.
Oh, no.
And it's very sad and it's very unfortunate because one simple document could have taken care of that.
Oh, yeah. That they, hopefully would have followed through on
Right.
and made sure. And hopefully that's something an attorney would advise them to do.
You would
Make sure you know this, or the attorney's going to do it for you so you can make sure everything is clear.
yeah.
So after that step happens, and I get this question all the time, there's title insurance. And some sellers will say, because in the state of Texas on resale, 95% of transactions, the seller pays that title insurance.
Right.
And it's not cheap necessarily.
No, although we did have a decrease here recently. But no, it's not a cheap thing. But what insurance is really cheap, right? I mean, and it's kind of it's just like your medical insurance. You pay for it in the hopes that you never have to use it. But if you need it and you don't have it, then that's when you're like, oh, I should have just paid, because it's a one-time thing.
But that's where we're caught in the crosshairs.
Right.
The seller's going, why am I paying for the buyer's right?
Yeah, and that's when I say, we're kind of the hypocrites of in this particular situation, because it depends on which side of the transaction you are, because you're trying to do the best for your client. And I can justify it on both sides from my days in real estate. So if I'm representing the seller, I'm like, this is kind of, your act of good faith of that you don't have any hidden heirs, that you're not lying to us about any hidden heirs that may have an interest in the property. You're not hiding any debts that haven't been filed yet, but that are coming. You're not trying, this is kind of a good faith thing that you're saying, let's pay for a title insurance because I want you to know that you're going to be able to take this property free and clear, and that I've given you all of, I've provided all the documentation for everything that we owe money on. That's from, a selling side. From a buyer standpoint, if it's where the seller has, saying, I'm not paying for a title policy, the buyer can pay for it. I'm telling my buyer, look, this is really for you. Once they sell the property, the seller doesn't need that owner's policy anymore. This is your policy. So why not get you pay for it and make sure that you are going to be working with a company that you're comfortable with, that you're not worried about going under, and that an underwriter that has been around for a long time. So I can justify it on both sides, and it really just comes down to the negotiating skills.
And on my side, as a real estate broker or realtor, what I have to do on the listing side is just advise a seller that 95%, and my accurate, I mean, 5% of resale is key.
Yeah.
Brand new construction, the builder always requires the buyer to pay for it.
Yeah.
Now that's where sellers come in. They say, yes, but I'm the only owner. I've no one else has ever owned this property. I can insure. Why am I going to pay for a title insurance? And my response is always, I would never advise anyone to purchase property without title insurance.
And here's the thing. If you have a loan on that property, the lender is going to insist that you have it. So it doesn't really matter at that point if you want it or not. The lender is going to insist that you have it. But as a
You say loan, what percentage of transactions are actually cash? Good thing to bring up.
Yeah.
Like what's going on in this market today with high
Yes. So, I haven't seen I have not seen a significant increase in cash actually on our side. And yes, if you're paying cash, you don't have to have it. But I would also, well, if you're going to go through a title company, you do. I mean, that's kind of the reality. If you're going through a title company, because that's the whole purpose of a title company, is that we're providing insurance. So if you're going to waive that, then you could just go through an attorney. There's no need to come through, but it's got to be more expensive. And it would actually be cheaper just to pay for the policy. I just can never, I've read too many stories and seen too many things come up. I could never, in good faith, recommend someone buy a property or raw land or anything like that and not take a title policy. Like, it's one time. You're paying it one time for the time you own that property. And it's, when you look at it in that regard, it's the cheapest insurance you'll ever buy. I could never recommend to anyone not to have an insurance policy. Your insurance, health insurance, you're paying monthly. Your car insurance, you're paying monthly. But the title policy, you hit it at one time. It's a one-time fee that you're paying. Yeah, and it's, when you look at the cost that it is over the time frame that you're gonna own the home, it's so minimal. But yet the coverage and the security that it provides and the peace of mind is,
Again, it's the seller saying, I don't care about the average, but once I explain it's 95% of the time, I've not ever had an issue with that. But I say the same thing, what you just said is, it's a risk,
yeah.
right? So, and we are also a very litigious country. So do you want to sell a property and run the risk that something pops up later? Maybe some contractor that you hired to do some small job comes in and files a lien later. You completely forgot about them. Yeah, buyers could try to sue if there wasn't. So these insurance policies are really just to cover those risks. So that's really what could pop up.
Absolutely, because here's the reality. Liens can be filed on that property up until the new recording is filed. And so that's why we do within 24 hours of closing, we pull a new commitment to make sure that there are no new liens that have popped up. Because from the time you start a transaction to the time you get to the closing table, things can pop up. And we have had that happen before and we pull a new commitment and we're like, oh, that wasn't up there before. So now we need to investigate that. So I mean, yeah, it's a real thing. They do pop up. And just because it's not already on there at the time you go under contract does not mean something can't show up during that 30-day, 45-day closing period. So yeah.
But there's a lot of moving parts in the transaction. Yeah. And as a professional realtor, one of the reasons I choose to partner with Truly Title is because I want to make sure that a thorough job is done at the title commitment, that we're working with a reputable company, that if something does pop up afterwards, but it's also that closing process.
Yeah.
And I try to tell our realtors every day that said, we do this every day. All of these little details. What's a title's commitment? What about the exceptions? Right?
Yeah.
Do we have exception coverage? Who's paying for that? With your survey, do we get the survey? Do we have the T40? I could throw out all this lingo and everybody out there is going to have no idea what she's talking about, but we do.
Right.
And that's what they hire us for. And we want to make sure that every step of that closing is smooth and then there are no hiccups that are going to pop up.
Right.
What are some of the craziest, what I call hiccups, that have popped up before closing, during a closing?
Well, so we had one last year that 2 days before closing, there was a lien that popped up, and it wasn't a small lien; it was like $4,000. So of course we had to go get that payoff, and we were able to get it, and everything was able to close on time. But those are not things that do happen very often, but when they do, they kind of make you pause and go, "Oh, okay." Like this, it's a reminder that it does happen.
Yeah.
I want to say, the craziest thing I've seen recently that comes to mind is we had an agent bring us a home that had solar panels. And the contract said that the solar panels were going to be assumed. And so we're okay, great. We're getting the loan information from the lender. And we're like, well, we don't have the amount for the solar panels. So we need that amount. And they're like, well, what are you talking about? And we're like, they're assuming the solar panel loan. And they're like, well, not through us. And we're like, oh, so then we have to go back to the agent and we're like, hey, the contract says that this solar panel loan is being assumed, but the lender says it's not through them. We need the lender that they're going through to get that loan amount for to pay off. And they're like, well, what are you talking about?
We didn't mean to.
No, they meant to. For some reason, this agent thought we were going to go out there and find. I'm not even sure what they thought. But it was
Surprised that the buyer was willing to assume the loan.
well, and here's the thing. After doing some digging, it was discovered that the loan it was assumable, but not until the $3,500 debt that was past due was paid and brought current.
And that didn't show up on title commitment.
That did not show up on top.
Interesting.
And so it's there's all these moving parts, and we're in the business to close deals. So when these things come up, they do not make us happy. These are not the things that we want to see, but we're there to do a job. And our job is to make sure that when we close on these transactions, they are free and clear and that the new homeowner is not going to have any issues. And so we had to do a full stop, do some backtracking, and we were able at the end get it closed with we had to do an extension, but there was a lot of moving parts there, and our team was amazing and they were on it. And that's the one thing that I love about our team is when those kind of problems come up, they're not going, okay, so what do we do now? They're sitting there saying, how are we going to fix this? What is the workaround? What can we do? They're very much problem solvers and not problem creators. And that makes a big difference. For the agents, it makes a big difference for the buyers and sellers because they all want to get in this home and or get rid of the home. And so they need a team that they can entrust is if there's a problem, they're going to figure it out and figure out how to get past it instead of saying, well, I don't know.
And
This is a mess.
and I kind of say as kindly as I can, have the agent's back because not to bring up who the agent was, but the agent's due diligence would have been to make sure when they even came up that there was a solar panel lease, because I've seen solar panel leases have balances up over 100,000.
Oh, absolutely.
That's not a small dollar amount to assume.
No.
And when I've been on the selling side, most of the time I have that discussion with my seller. Are you willing to pay this off in order to sell the property? Because we're marketing the property based on this is a house with solar panels. Here's the price. Yeah, but most buyers don't want to assume that. All right. On top of that, but on the buyer's agent side, what they could have done to prevent some of that was to ask for those documents before signing the contract.
Yeah.
I mean, how can you agree to pay for something when you
Don't even know what the amount is.
the amount?
Absolutely. And that became an education moment with the listing agent. But I think that's also why it's so important for buyers and sellers to interview agents and make sure that they get someone who knows what they're doing, who is tenured, who's how many it's not so much about how long have you been in this business, because you could be in this business for 40 years and have done 5 transactions. How many transactions have you done? And make sure that you're really getting someone who, like yourself, has been in this community for a long time, very well known, done a lot of transactions, and has seen a lot of different things. Now, that doesn't mean new things are surprising us all the time, because I feel like I learn something new in this industry every week. But having all of that experience and having the being able to figure out those workarounds is huge. It is when you're choosing your agent.
Which is why it is the biggest transaction that we really make in our lifetime.
Yeah.
I always say, unless you're going to buy a yacht or an airplane,
Right.
house is probably the largest purchase that you'll make in your life.
Absolutely.
As much as you want to hire your friend, or you want to hire your cousin, or you want to hire your cousin or your sister, and they can be. You could do it as a favor. They could be doing you a favor as well. But make sure that there's someone behind them that's
Right.
giving them the guidance and the proper information to things to check for.
Yeah.
Because again, lots of moving parts. I love it because I know that I kind of say, I got your back, you got my back. Kind of, I can pass stuff off to you. I know what are you guys going to take care of? We're going to make sure HOA docs the order in a timely manner. I've seen that hold up a close.
Oh, yeah.
Title companies that wait to the last minute, and these HOAs do not respond quickly.
No, they don't. They don't. And
So,
but the buyer and seller don't care about that. They just want to know that, so that's one thing that our team really does take pride in, is when that contract comes through, we're looking over all of those dates, because we know most HOAs are going to take 7 to 10 days from the time it's paid for. And so we're looking at all those dates and saying, okay, look, we typically like to wait until after option period, so you're not paying for something that you may not even end up going through with. But we're looking, and there are some cases where we're like, look, if this is going to close on the date that you want, we need to go ahead and place this order. And so our team is reviewing all that and not just saying, oh, well, they said they want, they don't want, this is when they want it. No, we're looking at it and educating people and saying, hey, I noticed these are the dates. If we're going to get HOA back in time, we really need to go ahead and order it so we're not paying rush fees.
okay, so how many on a given week or given day, how many let's say month, how many transactions are you guys closing?
35 to 45.
35 to 45. And you've got a great team over there,
Mm-hmm.
to Tracy, and everybody's got their role in this process. How does Stu keep track of all of those things?
I don't know. I think I picture, the Tinker Toys that you can build, and there's like all these moving parts. I think that's what the inside of her brain must look like. It's really quite scary. Because I can go back there and ask her about something, and she'll say, "Give me an address," and I'll give her the address, and then she just rattles it off, and I'm like, "That's amazing, thank you." And then, but she never even has to go into her computer. It's like it's all like there's just filing cabinets.
So I don't know how she does any kind of transactions. Yeah, I had that all.
Yeah, I don't know how she does it. I just know that she does it, and she does it very well. She has her system and it works for her, but she's on top of it.
She's just not using some sort of like AI or something to,
No.
but I definitely I live and die off my calendar. It's not on my calendar.
Yeah, they have their calendars. I know she has a sheet that she uses for each file, that she's constantly making notes on. So like if things come up of, hey, we might need a power of attorney, she's making a note so she can remember to check back in as we approach that close date. So I know she has those things in place, but I think I think it's stolen here, and it makes my brain hurt. But it's her doing it and not me these days for sure. Because we are the last.
So lucky because I closed with other title companies in the past,
Mhm.
not because I wanted to, but that happens. We get situations, and obviously on the siding side, I can choose, I can direct that. I can't always direct it on the other side. And you guys make it look so easy.
Well, thank you.
I should never gone to a closing, knock on wood. I still remember 23 years where it wasn't just smooth as silk.
Yeah.
And our goal is at the end of the process, we want our clients to feel like that was the easiest closing I've had to go through, and stress free.
Yeah.
Right. We try to take that stress because we know everyone's juggling a lot. And because we do it all, we got that ball, you got that ball, got that one, that one, that, yeah, right. We got all that. We're good. We're going to that closing table. We're ready to go. We just need you to sign. We're gonna give you your gift and your keys, and
Yeah.
we're
Well, and that's kind of my motto is that buying a house is it's stressful. You've got all these moving parts and there's 1,000 different things that can add to it. Like if you've got small kids or if you've got animals and then, especially if you're buying and selling at the same exact time and dates and moving parts have to work out just perfect. There's so many things that can be stressful. So the things that we can take care of and not make them stressful, that's important to us. We want when they come in, we want your clients to feel like this wasn't as bad as everybody said it was going to be. We want them to have a great experience. And at the end of the day, you, the agents, are really our clients, right? And so our job is to get your client through that process to make you look good, and to make you shine because in most cases you're the one referring us to them to use. And so we want that to reflect well on you. And so when they come in, we want them to have this great experience of coming in and feeling like, oh, we made it. We're here. And it's
here. That isn't so bad.
that wasn't so bad. And so and even in the best of cases, there's going to be stressors, right? There's a lot of emails going back and forth. There's a lot of moving parts. But anything that we can do to kind of help eliminate the majority of that, that's what we're here to do and just make our agents shine.
I'm going to bring up another topic that's kind of probably we've had to deal with another stressor in the last 10 years, and that's wire fraud. Ugh. Yeah, we just had a really scary one that almost happened because I had a guy wiring a huge sum of money. He was paying cash, yeah, for a house over, and I'm not gonna say the dollar amount, over $1 million, and he took that email that was sent as a secure link and printed it and emailed it to his bank. And the next thing we know, we had someone that intercepted that and started advising him to send this money to another bank account. Um, that's a huge stressor as industry right now. What are some things? I mean, it's scary for you. It's scary for us. It's scary for our buyers. I mean, he was in the Netherlands and we had to get on a three-way call because we wanted to verify. The only thing I can say, thank goodness, as soon as he said, I'm going to need wiring instructions, I specifically told him, please do not wire any money without physically talking on the phone. Yeah. To truly title to verify the wiring instructions before you send anything out. Thank goodness, right? I mean, we all have it on our emails.
Right. It's on every email that goes out from everyone in our office, but not out. These
Sometimes don't read it. We can't assume that people read those things. Why we got it there to protect ourselves, but we got to protect our clients. Right. So I'm like, thank goodness I said it. Because as soon as it happened, he sent something. He sent me a WhatsApp message, and I immediately picked up the phone and called him.
Yeah.
And I think you guys were on it. I was on it, and we were able to make him comfortable because at that point he was freaking out.
Right. Because I mean, and really, I mean, yes, in your particular case, it was a very large sum of money. But in most cases, it wouldn't even matter if it was $100,000 to the person who's wiring that money. That's a large amount of money, and they're not going to just be able to replace it. And so, that's one thing we love about our company is that from day one, they have been taking very proactive measures to make sure we're doing as much as we can to prevent um, email hacks and things of that nature. We have now taken it a step further and we use what's called closing lock. And so everything to deal with money, wiring instructions, sending it, whether it's the $250 option money or it's the cash to close funds, it goes through there. And that's just to because they have gotten so good at being bad and hacking into emails and so that one thing that one incident actually went out across the board to our company all over all of our offices in the US because it was just proof of this is why it's so important to use this system because had it not went through this system it could have ended up looking a lot different.
It could have ended up being bad because, right, we always say assumptions are made. The first assumption is someone's email was hacked,
Right.
right? And that was like, well, we're all going on my email. I'm immediately resetting my passwords. Were like, yeah, was it an email hack or was it just I have a sister that works in cybersecurity, and she said it just once it goes across the web,
Yeah.
it can be
It can be affected. Yep.
so, which is why I in this day and age, I would never send out any information to do with my bank account, credit card information, social security. That kind
Yeah.
of does not. I will literally. I get people all the time that say, "Send us your credit card," and I said, "No, I will pick up the phone and call you with that."
Yeah. It's so
Saying
important
that across
because in a world, especially today, everyone is moving so fast and they are so good about making these emails look very legit. And it's not until you're literally comparing them side by side that you see the spoof of, oh, that's actually,
yeah, to say they can copy
it can be a different,
email signature.
it can even be the same letter, but a different font. That's how good they are. And it's absolutely terrifying. And so we always welcome those calls. Giving your client our phone number, keeping our cards frankly on hand with you is a great idea. Get that way you've personally said this came directly from their office. So when you get ready to call the number, this is the number you call. And anyone in our office can verify those wiring instructions for them and make sure that, and check to see did we actually send out anything. So yeah, and that's so important because
So high five. We did it. We did it. Well, yes, successfully. He's happy. Got over that one. But then that topic came up because another one of my agents said, why doesn't he just get a cashier's check? Well, first of all, he was in the Netherlands. He could have had his sister. And why just sister? And I said, do you think a title company today would accept a cashier's check in that dollar amount? Because with AI, cashiers can be falsified.
they can be self-payment.
They can put a stop payment. So do you guys even allow cashier's checks?
So we do. We do allow cashier's checks. We do strongly encourage that they be cut the day before because a stop payment can be done on them. And we need to be able to call and verify funds. And you typically have to speak to the person who actually cut the check, which can be, if you've ever tried to call a bank, can be very difficult to get a hold of. And they won't verify same day unless it's with the person who actually cut that check. So if someone comes in the day of closing with a cashier's check, it very likely can delay everything actually getting funded and money being transferred. And so we really strongly request, we prefer wire just because if you taking the wire instructions from our secured email, that is going to be the most secure. Plus, who wants to be walking around with a check for $150,000 or more, and have it sitting in your car? Because our branch manager actually had that very scenario happen to her. She was closing on her house. They had the check and they broke in and stole the check. And for her, she went in one place for like 5 minutes and they followed her from the bank. And so it's unfortunately, bad people are really smart. They're really sneaky. So, but if you're going to do the cashier's check, we do strictly or strongly encourage you to do it the day before, just so we can make sure that everything is good, so that there aren't any additional delays on closing day.
Great. I will say today, because of my fear with wire fraud, I usually advise my clients to get a cashier's check just because I don't want to deal with that. Okay, do you know this? Like, make sure you didn't get hacked. I just know that there are dollar limits on that. Yes, the maximum dollar limit for.
So I honestly don't think we have one because as long as we can verify it, that's the key is for us to be able to verify it. Now, personal checks, that's a different story. We do have a limit. We don't take anything over, I believe, $1,500. Yeah, in a personal check. And even if we're taking the personal check, it's important to note that especially when you're paying that through Zochem or bringing it in for your option and earnest money, that we have to wait for that to clear before we can release it back
Yeah.
should the contract bust out. And a lot of people don't understand that. And so that becomes a conversation. But again, we have to make sure that
That's my eye there to add days. Yeah, 10 days of it. Yeah, area.
so we have to make sure that that money actually is there to give back before we just release it.
So as fraud gets smarter, the next chapter
Yeah,
is AI is going to continue to increase fraud, and this will become even better as people can probably falsify identification documents.
Yes.
So as an industry, we're gonna have to be
we're constantly trying to say
different steps that we're gonna take, different security measures as we move forward. We are May 2026. It's been a great year so far. It's been a challenging year. I can't say it as smooth as I was expecting it. Some little words of wisdom for realtors or buyers or sellers when they're gonna get ready to go to a closing table.
So I think picking a strong agent is probably number one, right? Like make sure that when you're interviewing, you know who you're getting because not all agents are created equal. Um and this is gonna sound probably a little biased, but if you're getting a discount agent, there's usually a reason why. There's something that's gonna have to give. Agents work their tails off. And in most cases, up until that closing day, it's all for free. And so having a really good, strong agent is number one, absolutely. Someone who's gonna communicate with you, explain the process, is crucial. I think the other thing is just asking questions. Don't feel like, I mean, this may be your third home that you're buying and selling, but real estate changes and it changes all the time. My first year as a realtor, the contract literally changed 3 times. I mean, and we've had numerous changes since then. We've done it this twice in a year. Exactly. And we've got more changes that are going to be implemented come June 1st. So, don't be afraid to ask questions. Also, don't assume that how it worked 10 years ago is how it still works today, because chances are it probably isn't. And then, don't be afraid to, just ask your realtor, what do I need to do to make this process as smooth as possible? One of the things I can tell you is most of the emails you're going to be getting from title are probably going to be FYI emails. However, um, take a look at them. You're closing the largest transaction that you're probably ever going to do. Sometimes there's going to be things in there that are time sensitive that could delay if they're not responded to. So just checking those emails and making sure that it's just a for your information kind of thing and that there's not something that we're needing from you. Uh, Making sure that you have your ID and that they're valid. That was a big thing during COVID. Um, I wish I could say it's went away, but it hasn't. We still have people that come in with no ID. I had someone pack it up and I'm like, how are you driving? Like, I don't understand.
You need a valid photo ID. Usually that's non-expired.
Government or state issued. That's the kicker, right? And so, yeah, and it needs to be valid. So we need to see those.
So I can't come in with my Costco membership card.
That's not going to cut it.
Sorry, darn it.
I know. And then I mean, I think it's courteous anytime, but especially as we move into the summer months, things just naturally ramp up. And I think it's real easy as a person to think, oh, I'm the only one probably coming in to close today. That's not the case. At any given time, we're doing 3 to 10 closings in a day. And so just being courteous and making sure that you're there 5 or 10 minutes early so that you can come in, grab a drink, grab a snack, get your IDs out. And then that way we can make sure we get you into the closing room and we're not delaying the next person who may be coming in behind you, but also so we can get your documents over and get your file funded. Every bank has a cutoff time. And that's one of the biggest things is I think everybody assumes that if we're wiring funds, that it's instant. Wires are not instant. They are fast, but they're not instant. And so there's checks and balances that have to go and be in place before they hit your bank account, both from our side leaving our office to the bank side of depositing it in. So if your appointment is at 1 o'clock and you don't show up till 1:40 and you've got to sign 130 documents, there's a good chance you're not going to see your money, or get your keys.
Guess what happens if you don't get your keys? This is again, after 23 years, sometimes we do learn from mistakes. never always advise your buyers not to schedule the moving
The same
day as
Yes,
closing.
absolutely.
Because if it doesn't fund and it could just
Yeah.
be a document that the lender kicks back and it can't, you could have signed at 10 a.m.
Yeah.
It's not a guarantee that it will fund the same day, right? That you will not get those keys. I don't care if your moving truck is standing outside in the parking lot. Sellers cannot. It's a liability issue. It's not. So I'm not trying to be mean. Cannot release those keys until it's
Exactly.
out.
Yeah.
So it's
So just arriving, 10 to 15 minutes early is always great because then we can make sure we've got everything. If you forgot something and you need to go run and get it. But I see so many times I see buyers, they call them, they're like, we're gonna be late. We're at the bank getting our check. And oh man, come on. And just being courteous that everybody wants to get their keys to their home. Sellers um or want to get their proceeds. Sometimes they're waiting on those proceeds to buy their next home. And so we schedule appointments to try to ensure that we're able to get everybody closed and funded same day. But when people show up late and things start to trickle, then that can tend to make a downhill effect of not everybody.
don't schedule your closing after 3 o'clock if you want it to fund.
No, and we don't. We typically only do those when we know like there's a lease back and nobody's trying to do anything or something of that nature. We're very curious of that and respectful of that. I feel like we do take those things into consideration because we don't want to have to come and tell you, oh, sorry, I know you thought you were getting your keys today and you were going to go over there and do a look around, but not happening today. So we ask those questions and we're very mindful of that because again, we want this to be a great experience and we don't want anyone having to walk out our doors feeling bummed because they thought they were going to get keys and then they didn't.
Where you guys haven't let me down yet. And the other reason I love you is because you're orange too.
That's right. We're orange. So it's fantastic.